Hey there, welcome to Bob's Bassin' and Stuff. This is my first video in a new series called Basics of the Bite, Bass Fishing 101. If you're brand new to bass fishing, or maybe you've been out a few times but are still learning, this video's for you. Today, we're going to break down one of the most versatile and effective rigs in all of bass fishing, the Texas rig. When we're done, you'll know how to rig it, how to fish it, and how to detect a bite, and what colors to use in certain situations. So grab a cup of coffee or a beer, and let's get started. The Texas rig has been around for decades, and for good reason. It's weedless, it's simple, and it flat out catches bass. You can use it with a variety of soft plastics, from straight tail or ribbon tail worms to creature baits or crawls. The basic setup is simple. You have your hook, normally an offset worm hook. You have a bullet weight that can slide up and down your line, or you can pin it, and you have your soft plastic of choice. When it's all rigged up, the bait will slide through grass, wood, and cover without getting hung up, but still give you a solid hook set when a bass bites. Alright, let's rig one up. Okay, the first thing you're going to do is put your sinker on your line. All you do is thread it onto your line like so. That goes on first, and as you can see, it will slide up and down your line. Now sometimes we pin that, especially if we're in heavy cover. We'll pin that with a bobber stopper, or some people use a toothpick to keep it from sliding, and by keeping it closer to the hook, it'll actually keep it from getting snagged in the wood and heavy cover a little bit more. The downside of that is it don't let your worm get away from the weight. Next, we'll show you how to rig the worm on your hook. This is an EWG. EWG stands for extra wide gap. It's talking about the gap between the point of the hook and the shank of the hook. This is important if you have a big worm or a creature bait where there's a lot of plastic. You want to have room when that plastic slides down to still have plenty of hook to go into the fish. Okay, now to rig this, you go into the tip, the very top of the worm, about 1/4 of an inch. And then you turn that hook out like this. You push the hook up the shank. You turn the hook back in, you slide the part that you've got embedded into the bend of the hook, and then slide it up. After, you'll have your knot tied here in the eye, and then you slide that up over the eye, and it'll help protect the knot. So now you've got your worm like this. You look at how it's going to be straight, and you see where the bend of your hook is going to be if your worm is straight. And that's where you want to take the worm and insert the hook there. So your worm hangs straight. Now if you're going to be fishing heavy cover, this is how you would want your rig to look. Now if you want to, especially if you're fishing light line or a light rod, to make it a little easier to get that hook through the plastic so you don't miss a bite, you push that hook on through the worm and come out the other side. You lay that up flat against the worm and that's called texposing. Like expose, but with a tex as in Texas rig. A texposed hook. Okay, another way that you can do that is once you get it to that point, is you take a little bit of the worm and you push it up over the hook and then pull it back down so that the point of the hook is barely in under the plastic of the worm. That's called a skin hook. That will help it stay weedless, but will keep it where just the slightest bite gets that point through and hooks the fish. Now, the one thing about getting these straight that I heard Bill Dance explain once, it's not so it looks pretty. It's really not so that it looks natural. Lots of things in nature are not perfectly straight, me included. But what this does, when it's straight like that, if it's being pulled over a stick, say, that will come across like this and not get hung. It makes it more weedless. Again, you see how that comes across. Okay, now if you take this same worm and say you put it back a little bit too far, and now your worm's like this, okay? Now when it comes over that limb, that hook wants to catch that limb. So being straight and tight actually helps make it more weedless. It's not about looking natural. Now if you're using small plastics, like this 4-inch ribbon tail, you can use a worm hook that is not a wide gap, because it doesn't have much plastic. You still have plenty of hook to get the fish. You rig it the same way through the top, 1/4 of an inch out, turn it, pull it up on the shank, see where the hook's gonna fall to get it straight, put the point in there. Now this, you're probably going to be fishing on light line, so you'd want to either texpose or skin hook. I actually prefer skin hook just because it makes it a little bit more weedless. There you go. And now, even though you don't have the extra wide gap, because there's not a lot of plastic there to bunch up, it's not going to affect your hook set. Now a creature bait, you rig the same way. Extra wide gap hook, go in 1/4 of an inch, turn it, spin it around, pull it up on the bend of the hook, see where it needs to be to hang straight. As you can see, the bend of the hook is at the very bottom of the bait. So you go down to the bottom of the bait, push that hook through, get it to hang straight, pull it up just a little, skin hook it. There you go. Now let's talk about colors. You don't need 500 bags of plastics, just a few confidence colors. In clear water, go with green pumpkin, red, purple, or a natural color like brown. They imitate crawfish and baitfish really well. At night, use black or black and blue, as they will silhouette in low light better than the other colors. Now that you've got it rigged and your color selected, let's talk about how you fish it. Cast it out, let it sink to the bottom, and once it's on the bottom, you have a few different types of retrieves you can try. You can hop it, which means you kind of bounce it off the bottom and let it fall back. You can drag it, which means you just pull it really slowly while you feel the bottom. or you can shake it to make it twitch on the bottom. The key is to keep contact with your bait. You want to feel what's down there, what it's moving through, what's happening to it. If you lose contact with your bait, reel up the slack until you find it again. And one of the most important things is to watch your line. Sometimes you can see it easier than you can feel it. If you see your line jump or move sideways, that's a fish. Reel down and set the hook. Alright, so what does a bite feel like? That's the million-dollar question for new anglers, and the one that inspired this video when a friend of mine asked me what a worm bite felt like. Here are a few types of bites you'll feel on a Texas rig. First is the peck. It's a little tap tap. Now a lot of times this could be a small bass or a bluegill, but don't ignore it because a lot of bass bites start this way. Next is the thump. That thump you feel a lot of times is a big bass inhaling your worm. When you feel that, set the hook. Next is the hold. Sometimes it just feels heavy, and if it feels alive, if it seems like it's moving even slightly, that's a bass. And finally, the run. This one's easy to spot if you're watching your line. You'll see it swimming off, either going side to side, away from you, and sometimes to you. If that's the case, lower your rod tip, reel up the slack, and hit that bass with a hook set. Remember, reel down and then whack. A firm, confident hook set. And one piece of advice, if you think you get a bite, reel down, raise your rod tip gently. If you feel weight, set that hook. This does two things. First of all, by taking the time, you allow that fish to get the worm in their mouth. If you jerk too fast, sometimes you'll jerk it out of their mouth before they get it in there good. A bass a lot of times will attack a bait with their teeth, which are in the very front of their mouth, and then they'll reposition it in their mouth a little further back. That's when you want to set the hook. And the second thing is, it lets you get better leverage from not jerking your rod tip while you've got it high. If you get it back down low, and then you've got a lot more leverage and swing on that hook set. And one other thing, if there's any doubt, set the hook. As they used to say in baseball, swings are free. Take your swing. If you miss, if it's not a fish, no big deal. You can fish from where you're at, or you can reel in and cast again. You'll miss more fish debating whether it's a bass than you will setting that hook. When we set the hook and there's no fish there, we just say woof, as in the boy that cried woof, and we move on. But don't set the hook too fast. As soon as you feel it, don't yank. Take your time. Be slow. Be deliberate. So that's your crash course on the Texas rig. From rigging it, to choosing colors, to what a bite feels like. It's one of the best setups for learning how bass behave, what a bite feels like, and before long, you'll be catching fish in no time. In the next video on Basics of the Bite, Bass Fishing 101, we'll cover the shaky head. If you learned something today, hit that like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Drop us a comment and let us know about your first Texas rig fish. Good luck and keep bassing.